What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. This is a reaction to what do Americans think is normal but everyone else finds weird. I've not really ever reacted to this guy's channel before, but I know there's a lot of these types of videos, but they're sort of opposite. He's an American living in the UK, so he just does these comparison type videos. But I've never really reacted to him other than the Lost in the Pond video that he did. So this is my first time seeing him, but if you'd want more reactions to him, let me know. But yeah, things that Americans do that everyone else finds weird. I guess you'll be the judges of this. Do you necessarily think what he's saying is true? Or if it is true, if you're from the UK on the off chance, do you think these are things that don't happen or people don't do in the UK? I mean, I'll also be the judge of that because maybe some people do, maybe I do some of these things, but yeah, let's jump into this and see whatever he has to say and compare to my own experiences.
Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Ask Reddit. My name is Evan Edinger and today's thread in question is, what is the weirdest thing about America that Americans don't realize is weird? I've done a few on this topic in the past, but every time I look through I'm like, if there's any new juicy nuggets, and these were all new juicy nuggets. First off, something that I guess is more American than I thought, putting the real estate agent's face on for sale signs. I just realized that's not a thing over here. I've never seen a real estate agent's face on one of the posters in the UK at all.
No.
They just have the word toilet with the word I missing. It's very weird. If you ever want to advertise a house in the UK, just put toilet on it, people come. Just remember, leave the I off. But in the US, very well known for this this type of thing.
That's so weird. That is something, yeah, that is a big comparison that I never knew about. Or big difference, sorry. That's so fascinating. So you just got a random person's face.
For instance, why there was a very good South Park episode recently making fun of this. Everyone has the back-breaking, like, shit-eating grin. That is so interestingly, I guess, just American culture. Something you don't realize is more American than not here. We've got, it's big, really big. Yeah, I'm from the UK, and 2 years ago, I did Route 66, even taking the interstate, so not actual Route 66, but you get the idea. It took 4 days and 12 plus hours of driving to do it. It's huge! Yeah, I do oftentimes look at images of countries overlaid on other countries just because I like seeing the difference in size. So I have looked at this image of the UK on top of the US. It's crazy. It's crazy how small the country I live in now is in comparison.
That's including Northern Ireland as well. Holy shit, Northern Ireland is tiny. I knew it was small, but damn. Wales is tiny as well. I mean, it's all small, but Wales is tiny. Like, you can literally fit it in like this little area between Missouri, Kansas, and Oklahoma, like that. Mental.
I'm doing a road trip, actually by the time you're watching this probably, in the US, where I'm driving from Jersey all the way through the Midwest, getting to Chicago, and then all the way to Toronto, and then back down to Jersey. And just the drive to Chicago's like has to be split up because it's I think like 12, 13 hours the way that I'm doing it, so. Oh boy. Also, isn't it weird that the Midwest isn't in the Midwest? If anything, it's in the Middle East. Just saying. All right.
I've learned about the history of that, and it does make somewhat sense, like a bit more sense.
Right, next up, we have how easy it is for an outsider to make friends. I do think it's interesting that because maybe from my experience, anyone that is not from your area is immediately more interesting. At least it was for me growing up. It's like, whoa, phenomenal. You come from Pennsylvania? Cute. Oh, Canada? That's cool. Bringing my girlfriend around New Jersey, just her accent made people go, what? She's not from around these parts. In the UK, what are there, like over 50 different accents within like County Durham? So, you know, I feel like you hear different accents all the time. You're more used to it. So basically, people are super friendly in America, especially to outsiders, according to this. Y'all can strike a conversation with the tree. That's because Americans don't know that trees aren't people. You literally don't need anyone to respond. You're like, yeah, bro. That's so funny. I literally cut off the sentence to tell a not funny joke. I do feel like Americans abroad do get a bad rap for talking a lot. I once went on a date with a girl. I think she came from Lithuania, and I just felt like there was so many awkward silences. So when I hear a silence, I seek to fill silence with something interesting or talk or give them a question they can answer. I had to do that like so many times. And then at one point she said, "You really like to hear your own voice." And I was like, well, it's better than hearing nothing. Like if
God damn, she must have been a walking red flag. You're on a date and you just don't like talking. Bloody hell, girl.
he would, what the All right, this one, because I've made a whole video about it. Prescription drug ads that are on TV that say side effects may include death.
Oh, God, door.
I think I've said this one before. Americans are well aware of this. I've made an entire video about how this phenomenon came to be and how it was actually a British company's fault. So if you haven't seen that yet, give it a watch. The options when ordering food. I thought it was just a TV joke. I feel naughty asking to swap chips for mash, but you guys can request pretty much anything. Yeah, just looking at like what you can get when you ask for eggs in the States at your local diner. There's so many different options that I think has always thrown
so many varieties of just egg.
every British friend off that I take to a diner. They're always like, what? What do you mean, how do I want my eggs cooked? And it's like, no, you know, sunny side up, over easy, you know, you got scrambled, you got a little poached, you give them the options. And then it's like, how runny do you want the yolk? Or just
How runny do you want the yolk? These are options you get as well, damn.
take a Brit to Cheesecake Factory, because the size of those menus, the bigger a menu, the less I trust a place for the most part, except for like Cheesecake Factory. I do feel like they've nailed it. Next, the gigantic open spaces everywhere. So much space. Yeah, as someone who's not yet, until this week, been to the Midwest, I'm assuming as soon as you're in like the Kansas, Oklahoma, the prairie, it's going to just be nothingness, right? It's big open space. Read a book once. That's embarrassing. Just read a book once. Is that it? I went there for university, and honestly, Americans just do the little things that are generally nice. Oh, holding the door open, smiling if you make.
I don't think it's just Americans that hold the door open. I mean, one thing that gets on my nerves is say you hold the door for someone and you don't get like a thank you. It's not like I expect it, but it's just like, come on now. Someone's holding a door for you, say thank you. But holding the door open is not just a specifically American thing. Definitely not. That's just something that you'd expect. I'd say you'd expect that anywhere, realistically.
Eye contact while walking. Randomly saying a quick greeting.
Like, I mean, holding a door for one person walking through, or you hold the door for someone. Like, I don't really expect it to me, to be fair. I like doing it for other people. And if someone doesn't do it for me, I mean, it depends on the situation. If you're far away and someone doesn't hold it for you, fine. But if you're like literally behind them and they just sort of open it and it's shutting again, maybe they've not looked back. It makes sense if you're not really paying attention. But if you sort of know if you're like aware of people being around you and you can hold it for someone and you don't, that's a dick move. Let's be real.
Etc. Random compliments too, and I never get the vibe that people are just making them up, like some of my friends at the time. Ooh, rough. If someone complimented someone's clothes / hair, it felt like they meant it. You know, they just didn't seem to hold back the random thoughts, and they said them out loud. You know, well, I feel like usually that's pitched as a negative, so I'll take that as a positive. I didn't even notice the door holding thing after the first few days, and when I went back to my country, I missed it. That is a thing I have noticed, actually. I will agree. From my experience, Americans are way more likely to hold the door open for you. At least compared to London. I'll preface that.
Really?
Someone from the country of not
Maybe
London is
London.
gonna be like, wait.
London's very unfair comparison because it's a city that's just itself. It's like its own mini country.
Yeah, people generally run ahead to hold the door open for people with their hands full, right? Listen, I live in London. I feel like anyone that's not London, it's a different experience. Your news channels display far too much info on the screen. Yeah, I actually never quite understood that as a kid or as an adult. When I used to watch the Onion news channel, which was a parody of news channels, you had to watch it twice because there was always a ticker of extra news at the bottom, except on the Onions, that was just a really funny thing, so I couldn't focus on the video at the same time. But in actual American news, that's how are you supposed to like quickly glance down and be like, all right, looks like Osama's dead. Anyway, what's going on with, oh shoot, the Dow is down, I guess. Darn. Coffee all the time. I got a tattoo in Barcelona and was completely embarrassed when I asked the artist if he wanted a coffee from next door. He told me, oh no, I have to keep working. He thought I wanted to go with him for a while. Well, I think maybe that's a language barrier because that's like 2 words off. Saying, do you want a coffee? I feel like that means, do you want me to get you one? If you say, do you want to get a coffee? Well, then that means going with you. So I feel like maybe that was a language barrier thing. We do like our coffee, but it's very different to coffee everywhere else that I've ever been.
Would anybody like more coffee?
Coffee in America is, you know, just big, huge amount of filtered coffee, usually in the big jugs. I'm used to the big Wawa experience. It's just constant drinking large amounts of not that strong coffee on the go.
Whipped cream, caramel, and 2 pumps of chocolate.
You know what I mean? It's like coffee drinks. That's it. America's not really big into coffee. They're big into coffee drinks.
I'll have a Trenta, no foam, 5-shot half cap, no foam, pumpkin spice latte with no foam at 210 degrees.
Not there's anything wrong with that. But It's a big difference. The toilet is so full of water. I always have to convince myself that I'm not about to dunk my cheeks. Why do people complain about this? It's a positive thing because it's way more efficient for making sure all the stuff that goes in the toilet goes out of the toilet. UK toilets and a lot of around Europe, there's so little water in there, you have to like squint to see. And then when you poo, the poop, whatever you want
But the splashback must be crazy.
to call it, it goes on the shelf. Like the Germans, they love their little poo shelf so they can look at it and be like, oh, das gut, das Scheiße sieht so gut aus. Meine Scheiße sieht so gut aus. Danke. Yeah, I don't like that because then the water that's got to clear it up is going to leave behind things. You got to brush it up. I feel like when you have a huge toilet full of water, it pushes it all away. Japanese toilets still supreme, but American toilets beat UK toilets every time. Cashiers in stores standing. I hate that that's a uniquely American thing. When I worked at the old Pizza Hut for 5 years, if I was caught sitting down, that would be it. Like I would hear it, I'm supposed to be standing, so that way I'm more readily able to answer the phones and fold boxes or roll silverware or do other things. Even though I could do those sitting, they would sometimes let you do it if it was really dead in the store and you were doing other things, like folding boxes and such. Otherwise, no. I do think that they should pass some sort of law to make it like not allowed. You shouldn't have to pass a law for that. I don't think any other country has needed a law for that. But the US clearly needs a law to be like, hey, cashiers don't have to stand. You're not allowed to mandate that they stand. You don't have to say that they can sit or they have to sit. Just say that they don't have to stand. There's gonna be so many comments being like, you boot-licking government lover, me and my libertarian friends ain't never gonna let my cashiers sit. What are they doing sitting? Probably texting them communists like Kamala. My boyfriend is Scottish. When people hear his accent in the States, they go crazy. It's true. However, that has nothing to do with the topic at hand, right? What is the weirdest thing about America that Americans don't realize is weird? And this person that everyone upvoted said, my boyfriend is Scottish. When people hear his accent, they just go crazy. I guess I would agree with you. Americans don't realize it's weird to go crazy for your Scottish boyfriend. He's yours. Stay away, America. The work culture is crazy. I worked there and some people just don't take time off. They're basically on call all the time, evenings, weekends, whatever. That is part of the work culture, but also because of the laws. A lot of these people that are super workaholic don't really have many other options at their job. A lot of places do not have paid holiday or paid vacation days. I've made an entire video about basic workers' rights in the UK versus the US, and it's just crazy. People say, oh, I've got holiday at my job. I'm like, yes, you do, because your job thankfully gave it to you. But the government should make sure that the jobs actually do give it to everybody. Otherwise, people like me that worked 5 years as a server at a Pizza Hut would receive 0 days of paid holiday. That's insane. You say that to someone that lives not in the US, they'd be like, what? That's freaking dystopian and weird. 5 years working at a place, you don't get a single day paid holiday. Yeah, that's just the way it is in the States. But people like this commenter on Reddit will chalk it up to people just love working. That's not it. I genuinely don't think that's it at all. I think that's some really bad take. Americans don't necessarily love to work. They just fucking have to because that's the way the system is at the moment. So, sorry, pushing back, no. The tax isn't automatically added to the price shown in shops, restaurants, etc. I only have $1 in my pocket. I'd like to use it straight away and see what I can buy for that $1 without having to try to find the tax rate out while calculating it. I will say that's one of the worst things that I'm still a bit surprised is a thing in the US. Every positive you can say, like, oh, well, every state wants to have different things. All of those positives are purely for companies. Like purely for corporations to not have to worry as much about things. None of that is for the consumer. The consumer, as someone who's experienced both ways of life, would much more prefer to just have a number and not have to think, especially because, you know, when you go on like one of those cheap airlines and you say, oh, it's only like $30 to get on this flight. That's great. And then you get there and they're like,
And then there's loads of things you have to pay for, like luggage and where you want to sit and all this stuff.
like, oh, that suitcase is larger than my hand, sir. That's $50. You're like, fuck. So you give them $50 and you sit down, they're like, sorry, you have to stand unless you pay another $50. And every little extra fee that they charge you for the oxygen that drops down, everything that they charge on those flights makes you feel a bit more annoyed. That's American culture with the taxes not being added automatically. It's that little bit. Anyway, thank you for listening to my YouTube video. If you want, you can give me a tip, 10%, sorry, 10% is not supposed to be there, 20%. Every time someone asks you for more money, the taxes, the tips, it doesn't feel nice. Just have that included in and people won't feel as bad about it. That is a weird American thing. Radically different laws for each state Yeah, you could do something illegal in one, travel a few miles, and then boom. Yeah, but maybe it's because I grew up like that. I'm like, that's normal. Hypothetically, if I wanted to do something illegal, here's an example. Oh, I want to smoke a little weed legally. All I got to do is take a train or take a plane to Amsterdam, and then there you go. Or if I want to drive 200 kilometers an hour, I could just take a flight to Germany and hop on the Autobahn. So, you know, it's a slightly similar thing. I guess because it's so much easier to cross state lines, that does make it a lot more interesting. But I also live on an island. When I was a kid, fireworks were very much illegal in my home state of New Jersey. But that doesn't mean that people didn't like fireworks.
Fireworks were illegal in New Jersey. Damn.
Every 4th of July. All it meant was you took a really quick drive across the Christiana Bridge to Delaware and got some there. Or you could just drive across the Walt Whitman and head to Pennsylvania, just buy them there. And when you come back, you light it up, hooray! No, you're not supposed to light them up. But also, it's America, it's about freedom. This state says no fireworks, I'm going to Pennsylvania. I don't want to do that normally, but I'm going to do it for the fireworks. It's not uniquely American. There are definitely laws between Switzerland and Germany that things are illegal in one area, and you could just drive across the border and do things. Same thing with France, same thing with Spain and Portugal. I guess if you want to view it because you're in the same country, sure, but then you can make that argument about going between like England and Scotland. They're the same like United Kingdom, but there are definitely laws that are different in between them that I'm not getting into. You guys do love your big cars, huh? Yeah, that yet again isn't necessarily because we love our big cars as much as the industry has kind of pushed Americans towards bigger cars. I know that it might not make sense, but from a health and safety perspective, if your neighbor and every neighbor on the road has a bigger truck than your truck, if I get in an accident with my neighbor, I will actually die because these trucks are so big, they're actually going to affect my life. So then you have to get a bigger truck so that you can compete with those trucks if you ever get in an accident. And now all the people that are in small little Priuses are looking up like, Jesus
like
Christ,
you must, in
truck.
the US, in a small car, you must feel minuscule. Like in the UK, say you're in like a tiny car, even in UK sizes, you're gonna feel like you feel tiny. Like it's a weird feeling because you're so low down and you've got these cars that you can't even see like the window of where they're driving because you're so low down. But in the US, that must be like that times 10 because everyone has massive cars there.
This is a weird one that people, I feel like, always complain about in my comment section, and I don't know why. I think Brits have an aversion to giving their credit card to someone. We have this says, when the workers at food places take your card and then, you know, they give it back to you and you got to pay the tip or whatever.
I've never had this happen to me. Is this a British thing?
For me, as someone, yet again, who worked as a server for 5 years, I would just take the card, I put it in the reader, and I write down the stuff, and then bring it back to you. It saves you time. I've just realized that this was because I don't think the contactless...
So this is in the US that this happens. That's wild.
...payments were a thing in the States when I worked there. I feel like the major reason that we would just take cards and then, you know, take them to pay was that's just always how it was done. There's always just a level of trust there. And also, if you were stupid enough to actually like steal someone's information, you could immediately find that out. To be fair, I think that did happen at the Pizza Hut I worked at. One of the employees was caught doing that to someone. So, you know, you have reason to fear it, but you know, they got all their money back and the employee was fired and I think thrown in jail or something. So tipping is super weird. It is, but also if I'm only being paid $2.13 an hour, I'm desperate. I'm desperate for the money because I'm not being paid because the laws are made this way. Yes, I've made an entire video about that and it's one of my best videos from like 5 years ago. So if you haven't seen...
In terms of tipping though, like people who like are serving people at restaurants, do they overall make more money than they would if there was no tipping involved? Because I guess for all the tips in like the 10%, 20% tips that are pretty much a requirement in the US, I guess that maybe overall gives them a bigger wage than they would have without the tips. No, sorry, without the tips and just normal wage salaries and stuff. I'm not too sure, but like how much on average would you get working in, I don't know, let's just say, I don't know, just a Pizza Hut, like you just said, and you get tipped. Now, let's just say, I don't know, just a restaurant in the US. Let's just say, the flipping, what are they called? The cafes in the US. I forgot what they're called. You work in one of those, you get tips. Would you get overall more than you would without, and just normal salary? I wonder.
Seen the video on tipping, there's sketches. The flags everywhere. Yeah, out of everywhere I've ever visited, the only place that's ever come close to the amount of flags was actually China. So I don't know what that says, but China is like had so many Chinese flags and loads of flags about the tenets of like communism all up around when I was in Guangzhou and Hainan with my good friend Kim. But yeah, I feel like Americans these days always do find it this weird sense of patriotism around the flag, but that just comes from our upbringing, how it is instilled in us in school in every possible turn. You have to write essays about what the flag means to you. You have to pledge allegiance to it as a child every single day. It's very much part of the brainwashing of American society. What brainwork? Yes, that's what it is. One thing that I always find weird, if you're ever on the male living space subreddit, you'll always be able to tell when someone's an American, like in university. They'll put an American flag, just hang it on the wall and be like, that's my decor. I just like my freedoms. And it's so cringe. Every comment is always like, mate, just take the flag down. And they're like, what's wrong? Do you not like the flag? It's a beautiful flag. Sure. But like, your personality doesn't have to be a flag. The billboards on the interstates, only 20 miles to, only 15 miles to, and some more chain business. Oh, fireworks everywhere. I feel like that's actually really useful though. Am I crazy? I know that when I'm driving on like Route 55 in Jersey or the Turnpike, for instance, you want to know what's up ahead. So you can be like, how much gas do I have in the tank? Maybe I can last 30 more minutes. Oh, it says, 2 stops from now, there's gonna be like a Chick-fil-A. All right, that sounds good. Right, we do have those in the UK, but not as often. But on this tangent, one thing that hasn't come up in this thread that's quite niche, that my girlfriend found quite weird about her time in America, in New Jersey and Pennsylvania, was so many different roads that you drive on have a sign warning you over and over, no matter how many times you've seen this sign that says, bridge freezes before road surface. Yeah, that's like basic science, right? But every single time you come to any sort of bridge, and there are a lot of bridges, you might not know. There's a lot of bridges in New Jersey, loads of creeks, loads of rivers, loads of tributaries, all over the place. And you're always going over them. And so the state is always trying to warn you like, hey, I don't know if you know this, but the bridge freezes before the road surface. We want you to know at every possible moment. That is weird. I will say that's weird. I didn't realize it was weird, but now I know it's weird.
What does that even mean? Bridge freezes? What? Okay. Well, there we go. The holiday thing still drives me crazy. My older sister who lives in the US is grateful for 10 days holiday and brags about it. And me living across the Atlantic keep telling her that it's insane not to have at least 24 days. Oh, damn. Well, these are just some differences to the American concept of elections without end. As soon as one cycle stops, the next cycle starts forever and ever. Yeah, I mean, I can't really say if I know that or not, but there we go. Let me know your thoughts on this. Do you agree? Do you disagree? And what was the first one again? Because that I did find that one really interesting. The for sale signs, just with random people on it. I guess I say random people. It's probably the people selling the house. But that's just a really interesting one. For sure. But anyway, yeah, hopefully you enjoyed. And until next time, subscribe. Peace.